Hello and welcome to the Pod Awakens. My name is Jordan. With me today is Logan. How are you today, Logan?
I have awakened. I'm
You've
back on the
awoken.
pod. Yeah, I'm back on the pod. I haven't been on this one in a long time. I think the last one
Book of
was
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild.
It is
It's been a
wild.
while.
Yeah, you started the podcast with me.
I did.
2019.
Yeah, I did.
This show has not lasted as in the sense of like we finally started picking back up again.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing to keep track of. I know you're currently watching Ahsoka, so no
Mhm.
spoilers are going to be on this show for Ahsoka. Logan's not caught up, but just want to get your quick thoughts here on. I think you're like 3 in here.
Yeah.
Uh, how you vibing with Ahsoka?
I think Mandalorian one, season one, will be always my favorite, but Ahsoka is right behind it. It's everything about it's just so good. I really enjoy the characters. I don't know the story as well because of Clone Wars. I didn't watch Clone Wars, so I don't know. I don't have the attachments to the different characters that are coming on. But I will say, I think it again. I'm anything that Dave Filoni touches turns to gold. It seems so. I'm all for him taking over the Star Wars universe if he really wants, because I feel like it's all gold when he touches it. So
Yeah, we got a big show for you today. A fun show. I'm going to explain what we're doing here. Uh, and let me just be upfront. I did not finish this assignment, by the way. There's one movie I could not add anything to, and I'm gonna blame that on the movie itself when we get there. And then I'll try to think of something to add. But
I feel like I know which one it is.
what we're doing is what we're doing are adding post-credit scenes to the 9 saga films. We limit it to the 9 instead of adding in. Right, you didn't add in Solo or Rogue
No,
One, right? Okay.
no.
Me neither. If people are listening along and want to send post-credit scenes to us, you can do it however you want. But here's the rules that I'm going to hold everyone to. It can be a new scene that you create yourself, but it cannot break canon. So if you don't like a movie, you can't overwrite it. Meaning, if you're not a fan of The Last Jedi, when you get to The Force Awakens, you can't say post credit scene, Luke never throws the saber and he is, back on board and never dies. You can't do stuff like that, all right? Just drawing the line here. But it can just be a brief description of what happens if people are interested to send theirs. It can be an adaptation of a scene from the comics or animation or a book. But here's the thing, I will not hold you to book or comic or cartoon canon at this point because not everyone has seen those. So if you're I don't expect Logan to have binged Clone Wars and Rebels just to see if he wants to insert any scenes into post credit scenes. So if he says something and you're listening and you're like, that's not canon, we don't care about anything outside the canon of the live action material for this endeavor. Because I'm sure there's some comics out there that even scenes I say, people will be like, well, that contradicts Darth Vader number 57 in 2018. It can be a scene from a movie or a show, and that is kind of like how Ant-Man has a scene from Civil War as its post-credit scene. So if you want it to just lift a scene from somewhere and put it in somewhere else, that's fine. You can have between 1 to 2 end credit scenes of film. So a mid or a post, a mid and a post, or just a mid or just a post. Those are fine. This is meant to be chronological order to the Star Wars timeline. So episode 3 would have one for either Rogue One or A New Hope, something like that. And be prepared to say why you chose the scenes you did. And we can have some debates as we go. So that is the rules for Logan. That is the rules for everybody listening along as well. Logan, how difficult was this task that I have tasked you?
I would say I was kind of going through them last night, like rethinking some of them. And I would say there were certain movies that it was very difficult. Like there were certain ones, but then there's other ones I'm like, oh, I already know. 100% what this wants to be. I would say there are two in particular I had a very difficult time with. So I'm interested to see which ones you've had a tough time with, because I think they might be similar to the ones I did. But
They might.
actually, the easiest one for me was actually part of one of my least favorite movies of the
Last
nine.
Jedi.
So, yes. So
For me, this was I blew like the day that I told you this, I was like rattling off prequel ones, no problem. And
yeah,
then I stalled.
yep,
And I think part of that is because I was raised during the prequels, and also I was so inundated with the ancillary materials during the prequels. I read little books. I had theories of my own of stuff like this, and like stuff is mentioned in the prequels that happens off screen that I'm like, oh, I'll set that up in this. And that's kind of why those were so easy for me. The originals I did eventually get through pretty easily. I'll say it now. The hardest one I had is The Force Awakens. That is the one I have nothing for. And the reason I have nothing for that one is because, and this is where I blame the movie and the sequel trilogy as a whole, which I'm a fan of, by the way. But I have a few complaints about the sequels I talk about all the time. One, that there was no plan. Two, their use of R2 and 3PO. Three, the time frame the sequel takes place in. And what I mean by that is all three films take place over a year and a half. There is no gap between Force Awakens and Last Jedi that anytime I was like, oh, maybe I could show Finn wake up. No, they show that in The Last Jedi. I was like, well, maybe I can show Rey see Luke. No, that's already in the movie. I'm like, who? What? Poe? Oh no, but Poe's already kind of doing stuff at the end of The Force Awakens. I was like, and they pick up right where they left off, because I looked at timelines too of like, not even looking at just the movie, but I'm like, is there a chance anything happened between the time The Force Awakens happens and The Last Jedi? And I'm looking at stuff, it's like, no, they pretty much get found by the Empire, the First Order, pretty quickly, and then they have to take off. And that's where Poe's story picks up. So I was like, I can't think of anything to put in The Force Awakens. But is that the one that you had a tough time with too, or was it Rise?
so Rise of Skywalker was the one I had a difficult time with, and then Clone or Attack of the Clones is
Oh,
one I
okay.
was just like. But I picked one that I thought would be just kind of a cool one, because I've tried
Yeah.
to progress the story in some of them. I've got two of them that are kind of the goofier ones.
Oh, really?
The
You
other
got
one,
some
well,
comedic
not
ones.
goofy. I've got one comedic one that I'm excited about. So
All right, so let's go film by film here. I have two post-credit scenes for episode one. Do you have two for that, or just one?
that's just one.
Okay. All right, so I'll go first. I'll share my mid-credit and my post-credit here for Phantom Menace. Mid-credit, I have. So let's set this up. In Attack of the Clones, they mention when Obi-Wan arrives on Kamino, Master Sifo Dyas, Jedi Master Sifo Dyas, is the one that ordered the clone army. And in the Clone Wars, it kind of explores Sifo Dyas doing that a bit, and then like Count Dooku ending up killing him. They used to be good friends and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, remembering as a kid that scene in the Attack of the Clones, which is, predates Clone Wars by 6 years, and predates that episode, I think, by 11 years. So as a kid, I'm sitting there, I'm like, what? A Jedi Master ordered the clone army? Like, what is going on there? Is it real or is it fake? I'm confused, like this isn't anything that happened in Phantom Menace. And the thing is, they mentioned it was like he did that like 10 years ago before
Mhm.
Phantom Menace, like during Phantom Menace. And I'm like, what? Why didn't we see this? So I decide my mid-credit seemed to be Master Sifo Dyas ordering the clone army on Kamino. And fun fact as well, for anybody that doesn't know this, originally it was supposed to be Sido Diaz is the Jedi Master, and it was supposed to just be meaning Darth Sidious. And it was supposed to be like Darth Sidious ordered the clone army under the guise of a Jedi Master. George kind of retconned that later, changed the name to Sifo Dyas, and made it an actual Jedi that did it. I forget why he did it. I think he had like he could see the future, I believe, through his force. So I think he knew that there was something going on, and he wanted the Jedi and the Republic to have an army. But then it kind of gets twisted because Dooku kills Sifo Dyas, and then the Palpatine's able to kind of influence the clones to have like the Order 66 stuff. So it kind of backfired majorly. But I was like, hey, this will be a fun scene to see. And then in the world of why we're adding post-credit scenes is I watched Return of the Jedi in theaters for the 40th, and I was like, ooh, nowadays one of these movies would have a post-credit scene. And I was like, what would I put here? And imagine 1999, you watch Phantom Menace, it ends with this happy scene on Naboo, but then you get this tease about like this guy having a premonition and needing an army for the the Grand Republic. And I was like, that seems like that would get people hyped up, and they'd have something to speculate for 3 years. So mid-credit scene, Sifo Dyas ordering the clone army, and my post-credit scene is Darth Maul survives. So we get the hint here of Darth Maul surviving. He'll show up in Solo. He shows up in Clone Wars and Rebels. So I thought, let's set it up in this.
I like that. I went back and forth on whether I wanted him to like kind of, like a hand coming up out of that little bat and like, hey, here I am. But I was struggling with that one. So I was thinking about it. I'm like, what would make sense for this one? And I was like, what would be cool? So for the end credit scene for mine, I've got Dooku that jumps on or that makes an appearance, and he's with Jango, and he talks to Jango about this is the next step in our phase of ruling the Empire, and he's going to basically he's going to talk to Jango about creating this template for clone armies, talking about the different I guess the next steps in coming up, and that there's a war coming, and that he wants them to be prepared. And it's him talking to Jango, and they're having that conversation, and there is this kind of just eerie. What's the actual place that it's the Caminos, right?
Yeah.
So he's talking to Jango and talking about, and Jango says, we've been preparing for this time for quite some time. And he shows the army to Dooku.
So you butchered two of those names.
Which one?
Dooku.
Oh, sorry.
And Jango.
You know what's bad is I had put Dooku because of the city player. And I was like, I know it's Dooku because I looked it up because I was like, you know what? I think it's Dooku. I don't think it's Dooku because I always wanted to call Dooku. So yeah, there you go.
And Jango Fett.
Yeah, Jango Fett. Not Jenga. That's the game.
Yeah. Okay, let's Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones here. So I have mid-credit scene. So the movie again ends with like them getting married, Anakin and Padme. So I have Anakin being knighted as a Jedi Knight to fight in the Clone Wars here as a mid-credit scene. The post-credit scene I have here is Ahsoka being assigned to Anakin as his apprentice. So knocking out some Clone Wars teases and later setting up for Ahsoka. I know we said that we're not really holding everyone to animation setups and stuff, but there's a reason I thought I need to show Darth Maul because he shows up in Solo. And I needed to set up Ahsoka because if we go just with live action stuff, Ahsoka, the show, is still going to exist. And I felt like that needs to be properly kind of set up.
I like that.
So this is the one you said you had a tough time with.
Yeah, this one I did just because it's like leading into the Revenge of the Sith. I was like, what would make sense? I didn't really want to focus on Anakin too much, just because the second one ends weird. Because it's like they're having the wedding, and it's like they could I saw on Reddit because I was like looking up other people's and seeing what they came up with, and I was like, oh, that's weird or interesting, and I wanted to kind of see what the differences was. One of them, Jordan, was like they wanted to have Anakin talking to Palpatine about how he was in love. I was like, that would be really strange. Like, I just felt like that would be
Talking to this
an
old
odd.
guy who's the chancellor. God, I'm so in love right now.
Yeah,
If
I
only
was
you
like,
knew, Palps, how much I love this gal.
yeah. I just picture them on at like a cantina and just having a couple drinks and them talking
He's like
about it.
showing him wedding photos. He's like, look, this is us with the droids. Look at the view here. I mean, this is a very
Yeah,
beautiful wedding.
right.
And
The other
Palps just
thing that,
being like, yes,
yeah, the other
it
thing that
looks
I thought
quite
about,
wonderful, Anakin.
yeah, the other thing I thought about was like, how come C-3PO didn't like rat him out, like go
True,
to
yeah.
Obi-Wan and
It's a
go,
little out of
dude,
character of
yeah,
3PO to not go immediately to like Obi-Wan and be like, sir, I must alarm you. The odds of
yeah,
Anakin turning to the dark side now that he's married are
pretty high.
1 to 100 million.
Yeah. So, all right. So my end credit scene, just because I like General Grievous so much, I remember having the action figure of him, and he had like 12 different lightsabers. But no, I think it's what is he have 6 arms?
Yeah.
So Grievous is out. I don't know which Jedi, but he kills the Jedi. We don't really see the Jedi's face. We just see him with but we don't see Grievous's head. We just kind of see the cape, like the long cape that he wears, and all of a sudden you just see 2 lightsabers swing out. And they're like, okay, those are different hands. And then it pans up. And then as it pans up, the Jedi just drops and the lightsaber drops. And he reaches down to grab it. And then he turns towards the camera, cape and all. His face turns. And then he I don't know if he wants to talk. I was like, I don't know what he would say. Like, I don't know who's he talking to. But I was like, it would pan up, turns to reveal his face, and then it just flashes black. And then that's where we got the next step of the Jedi killer. And you're like, who the heck was that? Because back then, because I think things weren't like social media wasn't really, I don't think it was a thing, right? YouTube was like in its infancy. So I was like, you know, what'd be cool is if you didn't know who that was and you were like, whoa, like, who is this guy? But
Right.
I don't think his storyline had really been built out. So
No, not at that
um,
point.
yeah, I was gonna say because I think I had read that it was like a lot of Clone Wars, or maybe he was in Clone Wars
He
quite a bit.
wasn't. Yeah, he was in
Yeah,
Clone Wars. And they always had to have Anakin not interact with him
yeah,
because they mention in Revenge of the Sith that they've never met.
they've never met. Yeah,
All right, so here's the perfect line for you after he kills that Jedi. Are you ready for this?
mm-hmm.
Your lightsabers will make a fine addition to my collection.
That would be good. You'd be like, who is this guy? Like, what is this? And you know what's weird? I always thought he looked like the battle droids.
Yeah, a
Like
bit.
he's very battle droid looking. So after the first one, I was like, what is this guy? Like some kind of amped up version of a battle droid? That's great.
No, you know what's funny is like again, he's a guy that they don't even really tell you everything
Yeah.
about him. He is an alien that ends up for whatever reason mostly I forget what happens. Something happens where he like almost gets blown up, and then he only has like the heart, the eyes, like the little bits of him, and then the rest are all just cybernetic things. And what he really is, and I think this works well. I wish they would have explored this a little bit more in the movies. Is he's a precursor to Darth Vader, right? He is another person that Palps and Dooku, whoever else you want to throw in there, bring this guy back to life pretty much without much of him there, right? And have to use those cybernetic things to enhance him. He's got the cough, kind of like the Vader breathing. Like it is a very like good, I think, precursor to it, but I don't think they ever really explored it enough in the prequels to be like, yes, this is like, watch this, because at the end of this movie, you're going to see Anakin kind of become General Grievous-esque without as many arms, you know.
God, Vader would have been great with 6 arms.
That
They could have done it.
would have looked
Why?
really hokey in the 70s, though. That would have looked not
That's
great.
true.
That would not have
But
looked
like,
great.
why not think of that, right? Like, why not have thought of that? Like, come on, Vader with 6 arms. General Grievous was like one of the hardest people to beat in those video games.
Can we make a Star Wars What If animated
We
series
should.
that covers
Yes.
like what if Darth Vader had 6 arms?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would want to tune into that episode. Next up on the Pod Awakens is Darth Vader with 6 arms. How would that have gone?
How would that have gone? Well, he probably would have won every battle he was in.
We should do a what if. We should do a what if series, Jordan. Could do like a like Avengers What If.
There you go. We'll do it. We'll maybe have to do a what if, or like come up with plot lines of stories we would want to see in a what if.
Ooh, that would have been fun. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Maybe that's another one coming down the pipe later. Revenge of the Sith. So I have a mid-credit scene here of after the funeral for Padme, Bail Organa is going to meet with Ahsoka Tano and gives her a line of contact in case of emergency. Ahsoka then leaves with Captain Rex. This is a scene actually lifted from Tales of the Jedi, the animated short series that came out like last year. From one of the episodes there, I believe, I just lifted it out from there and said, this is great because it's going to set up that Bail still is pro-rebellion. He's going to show up in stuff like Obi-Wan. He's going to show up in Rogue One. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of just set that up. He does appear in Rebels and stuff as well, and Ahsoka kind of becomes part of the rebellion with becoming a character called Fulcrum in Rebels, where she is, in contact with them and investigating stuff. So I thought this would be a good setup here and kind of, again, show where Ahsoka was during some of this stuff, because we don't see her in Revenge of the Sith. So just kind of reminding people she's still there. She's still doing stuff. She's no longer. You can throw a line in about how she left the Jedi Temple. She's no longer a Jedi type of thing. And then, you can have Bail be like, look, we're going to need you in this fight to take down the Empire. Here's a contact info for me and stuff like that. So I thought that'd be a great setup. Post-credit scene, we either see Obi-Wan in his cave from the show Obi-Wan, or we just see him, like, you see the desert. And you see that meat factory he works in. And you're like, why are we seeing a meat factory right now? And then you just see Obi-Wan be like cutting stuff with his knife or something. Cutting up that meat that he's working on. And you're like, whoa, now he's just a regular dude? That's kind of where I think I would go with this, and kind of set up him being in Tatooine in hiding.
That's good. So I've got like a mid-credit one. It would be real short for this one. So what I pictured is Obi-Wan sitting in that cave. He's got Anakin's lightsaber and his own, and he puts it into a box. And you can hear like an inner dialogue going on. But then you have Anakin kind of cutting in and out of different, lines from what they've said. Nothing in particular, but just, him kind of reminiscing on the fact that,
remembering stuff.
Here's where things could have gone wrong kind of thing, where Obi-Wan's having that introspective, like, this is what went wrong, and this is, an instance where I think it kind of turned south, and then puts the box away and shoves it into like a hole or whatever it might be. He puts the box away, and then it ends. Then it goes into the post-credit scene, and I've got Obi-Wan has an interaction with Owen, and Owen is talking to Obi-Wan, and he said that there are nights recently where Luke wakes them up by, yelling, crying, screaming, and he's having those visions, and he's having visions of, Vader killing. He can't see Vader, but he sees somebody, and it's like a red lightsaber, and it kind of flashes to a red lightsaber killing people, and that you can hear kind of a voice, a Darth Vader voice, kind of like you have Palpatine's laugh. You hear like the Darth Vader voice or the breathing. And Owen says, I don't know what it is, but Luke keeps telling me. He wakes up and he goes, I feel anger, but it's not my own. And then it flashes away as they're having this conversation.
It's dark.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
is that the comedic one, or is that?
No, yeah, that's the funny one. I thought Jordan, you were gonna laugh. Because I still think, like, every time I watch, because I actually recently watched Revenge of the Sith, and every time I watch it, I'm like, it's still one of my favorites. Like, it goes way back up the rankings when I start watching it again, because it's one that
It's one Jordan that I can remember going to the movie theater in. Like I remember that one in Phantom Menace. I don't remember Attack of the Clones at all. Like I don't.
I remember going
that
to see Attack of
experience.
the Clones. I never saw Phantom Menace in theaters.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Attack of the Clones, and I got a toy on my way home after for being good, for being a good kid.
Nice.
Yeah, because
That's good.
My cousins were there too, and they were very young. And my one cousin kept talking during the movie, so my mom felt bad and got me a toy on the way home.
Was it a clone? Did you get a clone?
No.
No?
I think I got. I think I got the Tusken Raider with the little dog Tusken Raider. I think that's what I got. I don't know. I think I got that one. If not, I got I had a few toys from Attack of the Clones because I got the Obi-Wan that's connected. The Obi-Wan that comes with the droid that he like jumps on when it's trying to assassinate Padme.
Oh yeah.
So I have that toy, and he's got like a magnet that hooks on to the thing. And I also had like an Anakin where his arm gets chopped off. It's another magnetic thing, and it just attaches.
We
arm.
had that one. Yeah, we had that one. Yep.
But I think that day I got the Tusken Raider. I'm like, that's a weird choice. Just be like, man, that was a movie experience. Give me the Tusken Raider one.
Yeah. No, I remember having the battle droids. Like we were obsessed with battle droids, my brother and I.
Well,
we thought they were cool. And
so
racers.
when we saw Revenge of the Sith. Quick side tangent. I went with my dad and my mom. Shocking, right? I didn't have many friends.
Jeez.
And we went to. So back then, I mentioned this before on here, but the book came out. The novelization came out like a month or two before the movie. So I remember reading in class. I was reading the book of Revenge of the Sith. Book was pretty damn good too, by the way. I gotta say, if anybody wants to read a good novelization, Revenge of the Sith. And in that book, it went through like everything. It was like because like he works with the script and stuff, and they write the whole thing. The scene where they go take down Palpatine in that book is so much better than the movie because they don't all die in 5 seconds. And then you have like Kit Fisto, my favorite Jedi. Mm-hmm. Sadly, while he didn't die as quick in the book, when Anakin comes in to find Mace Windu winning against Palpatine, he sees Kit Fisto's head severed on Palpatine's desk. And it stuck with me, man. And that scene comes up in the movie, and I'm so excited. And then it's like done in 5 seconds, and I was like, "What?" First disappointment as a child. But I still like the movie, obviously. But my dad saw this with me before he was into Star Wars. He didn't really start watching until Force Awakens. Fell asleep. Fell asleep in this movie.
During Revenge of the Sith?
Yes. I look over during this Obi-Wan Anakin fight, and he is nodding off.
One of the best fight scenes in all of Star Wars.
He wasn't big into sci-fi back then, or any sort of Star Wars stuff. So
that's funny.
I was like, how can you fall asleep?
Attack of the Clones, I could have. I could see.
The music is blaring. The Battle of the Heroes. You're like, oh my god, this is great. Yeah, he's sleeping.
Anakin yelling at Padme in a weird tone.
Yeah. Abusive relationship.
It really was.
That
Gaslights.
Yeah.
I mean, just unbelievable.
All right, A New Hope. I'm very curious on where this goes because I had a tough time. I had a tough time with The New Hope. This was one of the last ones I completed, but this is what I got. So in a comic, I have to kind of go deep end here. In a comic, Luke goes back to Tatooine in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and he visits Obi-Wan's hut, and he finds journals written by Obi-Wan Kenobi, and this helps him kind of continue his training. So I was like, let's do that. Let's set up this scene. Now, in the comics, Boba Fett and Chrysanthemum, right? Black Chrysanthemum, who's in Book of Boba Fett, come in and start kind of like fighting. Actually, it may have just been Boba Fett at that point, fighting Luke, and it's actually their first interaction. And I'm not doing that in a mid-credit scene. So the mid-credit scene is just him finding the journals and being able to, maybe he hears Obi-Wan's voice too, like, hey, use these to continue learning your way through the Force, something like that. So that way people are not like, great, he went and got books. Like, what the hell does that mean? Like, you got to set it up so people know what it is. And I think Obi-Wan saying it instead of Luke being like, oh gosh, these are journals, I can keep using them to learn the ways of the Force. I think it'll work better if it's if it's Obi-Wan's voice. Post-credit scene, we see Vader alive, because it is kind of left up for, like, he spirals away in his TIE fighter after the Death Star gets blown up. But I want to kind of reiterate to everyone, Darth Vader is alive. And we see him meeting with Boba Fett here to kind of tease their working relationship in Empire Strikes Back. And it also shows Boba Fett for the first time on screen. So that's where I'm going with A New Hope.
You stole mine, kind of that same
Did I?
interaction. Yeah. So I have like one where you could be, where it shows Vader obviously surviving in the TIE fighter and kind of spinning out of control and realizing that he's got to have talking to a mysterious like hooded figure, and the next steps that they're going to take as the Empire. But also like having, like, my big one was the end credit scene, post credit scene was definitely going to be saying, Vader talking to Boba after he lands a TIE fighter and saying, I've got a job for you. And then it just goes away. Because, again, like you said, the first time it shows Boba Fett and they're like, wait, who is this guy? But having it more of, and it would be kind of cool if they could go back in, like you could go back in and insert the Boba Fett theme song. Kind of that.
You can. This is your imagination.
Okay, let's do it then. We're going to insert that Boba Fett. Yes. Yeah. So it's that, hi, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
I love that. I love his theme song way more than the Mando.
Really? I like Mando better. But
really?
Boba Fett has a good theme song.
I do like Boba's, but yeah.
Dun, dun, yeah, it's good.
Yep. So, and then there was another one that I'd read that was pretty cool, and I just wrote it down but they said something about Luke getting to where like he starts to have like these dark tendencies kind of thing, but he's like, this isn't me, like kind of thing, kind of going back to what that last one was, that vision where I had in the third, but also Luke, going, I feel troubled, like having a conversation with Leia, like something isn't right, like I feel darkness, like it's just not going away, but it feels more like interconnected, and even Leia going, I feel it too, like it's a similar feeling, kind of thing. So and then I forgot to mention,
and that can tease the sibling relationship. Yes. I mean, we know they are siblings, but for them,
yes. But kind of has like this, it's like an impending doom, but they don't know why. And then I forgot to mention that, like in Revenge of the Sith, obviously it could probably need to be mentioned, but since Leia has her story, I kind of gave Luke his, kind of, that's where that post credit scene was, because we get
her in Obi-Wan,
right? Yeah. So we get Leia, and what kind of goes on between. But I was like, there's no way. I mean, obviously Luke knows Obi-Wan because he mentions like, oh, the big kook, like the old guy.
Yeah.
Like this guy. So that's why I kind of had that. But then also this kind of leads into the fourth, where it's, Luke has these feelings, like these tendencies to know what's going on. And there's so much play in between Kylo and Rey and having those visions that I'm like, they didn't really think of that, I think, because they didn't really have the tech to do it. I don't think for Luke. So I think that'd be pretty cool to kind of intertwine that stuff.
Yeah. I was going to say something adding on to that, but now I totally forget what I said. I was going to say. Okay. Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. I have a mid and a post, and I have a mid with Boba Fett returning to Jabba with Han. And maybe Jabba be like, ho, 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 as he hangs, as they hang up Han's carbonite onto the wall, I think would be fun. You have, you get Jabba like doing his chuckle, and then you get the little, was it the Kowakian monkey doing his like little laugh.
Yep.
Yes, that's what I would go with for mid credit. For post credit scene, I have a little background on this too. We see Luke's hand just floating in space, clutching his lightsaber after Darth Vader chopped it off. And this was actually going to be the opening scene to Force Awakens. This got removed. This was in the script. We were just going to see his hand floating with the
Really?
lightsaber. Yeah. And then that'll at least tease that it's out there. At some point, Maz is going to find the lightsaber, and that's going to be in Force Awakens when she gives it to Rey. So I felt like, let's tease that now, because I think it makes more sense in this one than Episode 6, post-credit scene, because you'd be like, wait, when did he lose an arm again? Oh, like 3 years ago? Yeah. So I felt like I had to hit that in this one. And so this will hint it's still out there as we wait for it to show back up again somehow.
Yeah, no, I feel like this one was probably obvious for a lot of people. I feel like everybody would have this in credit scene. So I've got what's the monkey called? What did you call it?
Oh, I think it's like a Kowakian. Let me double check on.
So I have that little thing, stumbling into the hut, and Jabba's sitting on his throne, and then Boba rolls in, Han, and Jabba makes a comment that you're not looking so good, Han, kind of thing. And then the monkey stumbling in and having this is my fun one, having Princess Leia's outfit up on something, like carrying it and holding it, and Jabba saying, we're going to need somebody to be in this, and I'm not going to look so good in it, kind of thing. Have a fun little thing.
Yes, Kowakian monkey lizard are what they are, but the one that is actually in Jabba's palace is Salacious B. Crumb.
Okay, yeah,
but yeah, that's funny that we both include.
Yeah, but then Jabba. So then my other thing was like having Jabba say something to Boba Fett, and Boba saying, "Watch it, pal, or else somebody else will be sitting on this throne." Kind of thing, kind of making an allusion to.
But he's not like fully loyal.
Yes.
A
little bit of a. I'll be sitting on the throne if you're not careful, because Jabba wants somebody to, and maybe alluding to Luke and Leia, but also
he wanted him to wear the bikini.
He wants Boba Fett to wear the bikini. He goes, "Watch it, man." No.
I'll be sitting on your throne.
right. It takes a turn. No, but making threats towards Boba Fett that, while he does have Han, he wants more from Boba, and Boba kind of has like I operate on my own.
Right. Okay.
And Jabba's saying, "No, you're mine," and he goes, "Watch it, guy, or I'll be sitting on the throne in Jabba's palace."
Good. Yeah, I like that. I like setting up more Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, a little bit Boba.
All right, Return of the Jedi. So I had the post-credit scene for the longest time, and I just added this mid-credit scene maybe a couple days ago when we were really locking down that we're doing this today. I was like, okay, I got to start locking some of these in. So mid-credit scene, I have Luke starting to train Leia in the Force, kind of like the scene that we see in Rise of Skywalker, where she's actually training and they de-aged and like added CG Carrie face on her daughter, and then having like young Luke training her. So I want a scene like that where we see Leia really getting her lightsaber maybe, and Luke being like, now I will teach you in the ways of the Force. And then post-credit scene, Boba Fett climbing out of the Sarlacc pit. And I'm just taking the scene from Book of Boba Fett. I'm inserting it into this. And I think that it's funny we're adding so much Boba Fett in this, but I think I've added like 2 scenes. You've added 2 or 3 scenes with Boba Fett. We're just like loading them up.
We love Boba.
Well, I think it helps more like when you have like more of a through line with the character, because right now he's just kind of jumbled a bit. Because in this show we'll see him from the way we have it, we'll see him in Attack of the Clones. We'll see him in A New Hope. We'll see him in Empire and Return of the Jedi, and then teasing that he's not dead, so that way when you get to the show, you're not really surprised. So that's what I have for Return of the Jedi.
All right, so Return of the Jedi, I feel like that had to be set up, and I feel like people are like, well, no, that was the cool part about having that trailer for Rise of Skywalker, and that kind of was that build up. But I feel like Thanos had the big lead up, right? So I feel like Return of the Jedi, like I feel like has to end setting up Force Awakens, where it's you know it it setting up Palpatine's return and not ultimate demise. So I have it on Exegol, and all of a sudden in the sand, the dirt of Exegol, I don't know what it is. Is it dirt? Sand? I have no idea what Exegol's actual
Yeah, it kind of looked like
makeup
a
is. Like a dark sand.
glassified. I don't really know how to
Yeah,
describe what Exegol is. Yeah.
almost like what, like when that water, like that I don't know where it is in the country or in the world, but it's that like glassy water looking thing that looks like sand, but it's water kind of thing, or it's sand. It looks like, I don't know what it is, but anyway, we flash to Exegol, and there are some Imperial forces there now, Imperial Empire, that are standing and talking, and they're like, "Where are we?" They've looked beat to hell, like it's the remnants of the Empire, and then all of a sudden we get Palpatine come in, and we just see this hooded figure walking, very very difficult and challenged to kind of get to a certain point, dying basically, and they're talking and say the Emperor's dead. What do we do? And then we just hear Palpatine's laugh as he's kind of crawling slash stumbling slash dead, kind of like Anakin when he was burnt to hell.
Yeah.
But Palpatine being very like just crispy from his wonderful Darth Vader and interaction. So Palpatine on near death, but also saying the Emperor is dead. I thought it'd be really funny for like all of a sudden Jar Jar Binks to show up in this one and go, "Oh, I only thought the Sith don't deal in absolutes. I guess he's not dead," kind of thing. But no, I think it'd be cool to have Exegol, because I want Exegol so much to be in just more of the story, because I love that planet so much. It's so dark and scary. But I
have a scene in Exegol too, but it's not coming at this movie yet.
Yeah, see, mine, I was going back and forth, but I was like, I don't know. And then part of me was like, okay, kind of going into a new phase of it, like going into the next, with Force Awakens, I thought about maybe more of a lighthearted one where like, Luke's partying with the Ewoks or something like that. A porg flies in for fun. He goes, "What the hell's that?"
Yeah, so I was thinking of setting up the Emperor in this one too. But I decided not to. And the reason I decided not to is because I didn't want to undervalue the victory in this one. For Return of the Jedi. So I was kind of like, let's leave this be. We'll have hints about Boba and whatever else I said. Oh, Luke training Leia.
Yeah.
And then we will hopefully leave it aside a bit, So for Force Awakens, I already said I don't really have anything, and I'm kind of been sitting here thinking the whole time, like, what could I put here? Because like I said, all of these characters pick right back up in The Last Jedi. So I'm having a tough time with what I would do, what I would start with. And the only thing I can really think of is maybe more background shenanigans hinting at Palpatine again, just to make it more consistent that, that there is something more here, but I don't even know where I would really start with that, unless if I were to, let's do this. Let's start with, if I'm going to add something real quick, just a post-credit scene, not much, no talking, nothing like that, just showing Endor with the chunk from the Death Star in it. That's going to come back around in Rise of Skywalker. So that's what I'm adding as my Force Awakens one. That you're like, just seeing like the, what we do? Maybe we do this. I'm really thinking now. We start out in the water where like the throne room of the Death Star is under the water, right? And then as we start scrolling up, then we get to the water, the top of the water, and seeing just the Death Star just chilling in this water, and just hinting that something there is going to happen coming up soon. But just to keep reiterating to people that, there's something coming here. That's all I can think of, because I can't do any character work because they immediately pick up in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So what was yours for Force Awakens? Because I know this one, I guess, wasn't as hard as it was for me.
Yeah, so I thought it would be great because Like I feel like we don't really get it, but I feel like having Chewie have a moment where I don't know where Chewie would be hanging out, but Chewie on a ship with Rey or whatever it might be. And Rey comes up to Chewie and said, "Everything's going to be fine." And Chewie's like, "No, it's not, because Han's dead. Like this is not fine." And having this moment where Chewie just kind of has this, even him having these kind of flashbacks of Han and the moments of kind of like a weird montage of scenes of just Chewie and Han being together, or having almost like it's not even like a Force ghost, but having like Han be there and saying, everything's going to be fine, Chewie. Like everything, things happen, right? Because I feel like Han would be cool with death. Like I think Han would be like, you know what, like this has happened. So having maybe, I thought Jordan, honestly, Chewie sitting at the little chest, like the Star Wars chest.
Yeah, the
thing
Jarek board. Yeah.
Yeah. Having him sit there and, having this, ghost of like Han saying, things happen for a reason and everything's going to be fine, kid. Like everything's going to be good. You're in good hands. But having that Chewie, because I don't know, like you get Chewie where he's sad and stuff, but you never get Chewie where like that was his guy. But I feel like that would be a really cool end credit scene, just because, like you said, like if I built up Palpatine already, I feel like this would be like one of those ones that's a nice break. You know how Marvel would sometimes do, where it'd be like, oh, we didn't really get a
setup. We got a character thing or something.
So we don't know if Palpatine's dead now. Like we don't, I left him alive. Did he die? What's happening in the last one. So this one I thought it'd be a nice break, but this one I came up with just because I was like, we never really did get Chewie, and I love Chewie about Chewbacca, so I thought it'd be a nice.
Chewbacca has the darkest story in the sequels, without a doubt, by the way.
He does.
He loses Han.
Yep.
He loses Leia.
Yep.
And he also, the kid he helped raise is Kylo Ren. I mean, It's a pretty dark story for Chewbacca. He's got no family left at this point.
Right.
Except for his found family, with Rey and stuff. But
right.
Rey, by the way, the granddaughter of the guy who effed the whole universe, Palpatine. So Chewbacca's kind of like having a tough time. He's having a tough time.
A little bit.
Okay. Last Jedi. I only have a post-credit scene for this too, because again, there's only a year between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker when you look at the timeline. So they didn't get up to much during that year. They went to Batuu. We had Rise of Resistance. I was thinking about maybe adding in a reference to the ride or Batuu or something.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, just have some fun with it.
Yep.
But my post-credit scene for The Last Jedi this is my scene on Exegol. And seeing a bit of Palpatine here. Now that Snoke is dead, which was kind of his puppet for a bit there. He created Snoke. You see like other Snokes in the tubes and other Palpatine clones in the tubes and stuff of Exegol. So for me, my Exegol scene is kind of like Palpatine kind of fully realizing himself again, and fully coming back online. I don't know if I'm going to say online. He's not a robot, but coming back somehow, right? Somehow he returned. And that's what we're going to get in this scene. Just a little bit of Exegol setup, getting the lightning strikes and like zooming in on this place and just seeing him sitting in his chair, maybe somebody attending to him here. So that's my only scene for the Last Jedi.
Yeah, mine's similar. It's him kind of sitting on that throne. He's got the clones of like what look like Snokes all around him. He's got the lightning. And then as he's sitting in the throne, he's looking out like a window or kind of an opening, and he sees his fleet.
Yeah, we have an opening in the sky, right? Like I think they look up at the sky a few times in that battle.
Yep, and he's like, "Prepare the fleet," in his crazy little voice, and then he starts laughing, and then I feel like that's it. Like I feel like that's a great end credit scene, and his laugh is just. I mean, it might be one of the most harrowing laughs in pretty much all cinema. Every time when I heard it as a kid,
that and Joker, like Mark Hamill's Joker laugh from the cartoon is really great.
Yeah, and then Bane's voice. I don't know.
That's more for a joke, though. Yeah,
that's true. Tom Hardy, he'd have been a great Palpatine. Tom Hardy, no, I'm kidding.
Oh my god.
Just a Jack.
I'm just
Palpatine.
imagining like somebody other than Disney got Star Wars and they're like, we're rebooting. Like we're not just continuing. We're totally rebooting. Tom Hardy is your Senator Palpatine.
Yep. Just completely wreck it. We got a new Luke.
We got a new Luke. It's
yeah.
somebody
I
else.
feel like it would be.
It's Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things. We're going full reboot here, guys.
Oh, that would be great.
So for episode 9 here, I have a mid-credit scene, and I think I'm just going with a mid-credit scene, no post-credit scene. Mid-credit scene here, I have Finn finally confirming that he's force sensitive, which he was hinting at Rey the whole time of needing to tell her something, and then maybe setting up that Rey film that we know we're getting somehow. I can't really set it up without having a script, but just knowing that she's going to reinstitute the Jedi, and that like maybe Finn is her first student. I think that's where I'm going with this post-credit scene.
So I've got Poe establishing himself in a mid-credit kind of scene, establishing himself as the new resistant leader, and really taking that, like kind of having him stand in that same position that Leia would be, where he's in behind those screens and he's directing. But I mean, I'm talking like pick one of Leia's scenes, whichever one you want to do, and I mean identical. Make it where Poe's in the same situations, same steps.
Oh, okay.
I think that'd be cool. And then having this one is where I was difficult, and I was like, I guess I just gotta go with the obvious. It's Finn being force sensitive, but I think Rey being there, having the conversation, and he's kind of like, is this what you've been, is this kind of that feeling that you've had? And she goes, yeah, this is similar to the same feelings that I've had before. And Finn says, something like, oh, this is great. I love this. This is something like that. This has been fun.
BB-8 gives him the thumbs up with the lighter.
R2-D2 comes rolling by because they didn't have enough of the R2.
I know. That's what I was thinking of, like
original droids.
Some of these post-credit scenes, I was like, I want to try to fit R2 and 3PO in there, but I couldn't do it without just shoehorning them in because they don't lend themselves to the movies that much.
Did I imagine this? But did we ever get a Force Ghost with Rey? Did we ever have her see anybody?
She saw Luke and Leia at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
I thought so. Yeah. I couldn't remember. It's been seriously. I've watched it twice since it's been out.
I haven't revisited it a lot. Like I'll start watching it and then like I'll put it on like when I'm going to bed or whatever. Sometimes.
Yeah. I do. I really did like the the Last Jedi. The last time I watched it was a lot better than I remembered it. So
yeah,
still not my favorite one. But, I think the second Attack of the Clones my least favorite Star Wars movie now.
Yes, that is mine.
It changes all the time though. Whenever I watch it,
it's so tough for me because like I know I had somebody. I was chatting with a friend at work about our favorites and stuff. We're like listing them in order. I was like, I can't really list them in order. Like, I don't know. Empire is usually my favorite, but rewatchability, I watch Force Awakens a lot. I've watched Phantom Menace a lot because that's my favorite prequel. So I'm like, it changes. It changes for me. And then I feel bad like when I put one like super low next to Attack of the Clones because I'm like, no, I really do like you though. Right. But somebody has to be next to Attack of the Clones. And that's how it is. And then if you start trying to add in live action shows or any show, I find it very difficult to really rank these. Because I genuinely like them all. Like even Attack of the Clones being my least favorite, I still like it enough, right? Like I still watch it occasionally. I still enjoy certain things in that movie. It's just like I never have watched anything Star Wars and been like, that's garbage. Like I genuinely will enjoy that. I even watched the Ewok films. I did a show with Ken Bishop over on Rambling Star Wars Fan, where we talked to Ewok films as well. So, it's fun. Star Wars is a fun escapism place that I like to visit, and I genuinely enjoy it all. But it's hard to rank them for me.
Yeah, and I think too, like you and I have talked about this. I think that's where people dislike. It's just been a common theme in my life recently, where like people just want to, they want to complain about everything, and like find negatives in so much. And I think it's the same way they think about Marvel.
Especially
It's the
social
same thing
media.
yes, Disney World, like Universal, like everything. It's been a common theme. It's been a common theme with Disney and how they've taken the. If you entertain me and it's good and I enjoy myself and I'm having a good time and I'm smiling, I'm laughing, it's got callbacks. I don't care. Call back all you want. I think it's great. If it's entertaining to me, it's entertainment. And I love it. And I was listening to one of your podcasts. I forget which co-host. It's like one of your 12 co-hosts that you have. But it was a really good point. I think it was when you guys were doing Ahsoka. It was not
Yeah,
the
it was
guy that
Chris.
does the
Yeah, it was Chris.
Yes,
That said it, yeah.
when he said, "You know what? I just want my movies and my TV shows and my entertainment to entertain me. And if it does that, then I think it's good in my books." And I love that. Like it's something that I've always believed. I've just guess I've never been able to vocalize that way, but it is. It's like all these movies and all these TV shows. They've entertained me. I love them. They've got good pieces. Obviously, they've got pieces that I'd change, but again, there's so much to like about Star Wars and in the direction I think that it's going, and I think we're going to get a lot of new, interesting stories that we've not yet heard. I think the good thing is they kind of slowed down, obviously, because the writer strikes, but I think they're also slowing down a little bit because I think that's kind of the idea. Disney was, they're wanting to kind of slow down the.
Well, I have an issue with Iger. I do. And here's my
Yeah.
issue with Iger, is that he immediately slowed down after Solo, just because it was a 6-month gap from The Last Jedi. Not
Yeah.
enough time. And they're like, we got to reevaluate. We got to make these feel like events. And then he comes back and he's like, we're going to have 3 Star Wars movies in a year and a half. I'm like, that's the same thing you already
Right.
did. Like, what are you doing? So that's frustrating. That is frustrating. Because we're supposed to get 2 in 2026 and 1 in 2027, and those are the 3 we know about.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen now. I think they will push it back due to all these strikes and stuff, but it's frustrating in the sense of do yearly, do every other year. We have the TV shows, like we have enough content to last us.
And honestly, the one thing I wish they would do is just break it, sever it, like go for the different story with the movies.
Yes. That's what I was saying, like
break out
4 years ago. When we talked about one of our first episodes of the show, Rise of Skywalker. I think we had a topic after that or in that episode.
We did
saying, "What do you want to see next?" I said, "I want brand new time period, brand new characters, because we can't keep harkening back to stormtroopers, TIE fighters. We can't. X-wings.
We're in the
we
same.
can't do
Yeah,
it.
we're in the same timeline right now.
Yeah,
like we're still with Ahsoka. With Mando, with Boba, like we're in that same time frame.
Were you getting Imperial remnants and stuff?
Yeah, like Knights of the Old Republic, sign me up.
Yeah,
like, I was really excited about that.
The story that they want to do about the dawn of the Jedi, 25,000 years in the past. I'm like, I hope that's actually made because I want to see something totally different.
Yeah, you know who's been really successful at it, and I think that you can kind of take a bits and pieces of it. I think the Hunger Games and Harry Potter have been good at that, where they've been able to break away from original timelines and video games and stuff like that, and tell stories that are different. Like Hogwarts Legacy, totally different story. I totally feel like they're in Hogwarts. Like you could have this similar kind of stuff. You could have the same planets. Like you could have Tatooine before. I don't know what Tatooine would have been before times. It
used to have a sea. Yeah, it used to be water. At
that's
some
right.
Point.
That's right. Because it was. But yeah, like things like that. I mean, just having and getting into different planets. That's the advantage they have. Where it's kind of like what Marvel had.
And when we get to different planets. When we get to different planets, let's have them be more than just deserts. We got 3 desert planets that are not Tatooine in the sequels.
Right.
We got Jakku, we got Pisana, and I feel like I'm missing another one that we got. So definitely 2 desert planets in the sequels that were not Tatooine. Then you also have Tatooine. Yeah, I think we've had some desert planets in like Mando and stuff. So we get a lot of that, and I'm like, let's.
It's because there's filming locations that look like that, in like in the world. But like, why not go into
that's what I love
more
about
jungle? Like,
Rise of Skywalker. When they did Kijimi with the snow.
I love Kijimi.
That's gonna be in. That's gonna be in the outlaw game coming out.
That'd be fun.
They go to Kijimi.
A Star Wars Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Kajimi.
Get the Jedi Force ghosts haunting Anakin as he's on Kajimi, or hunting
Right.
Kylo while he's on Kajimi
Right.
or something.
Why can't we do like there's unknown territory, like an unknown territories kind of thing, like kind of the Outlaws, kind of like what you have, like you have that with Boba Fett and them, but they're Wild West kind of thing. Like, why not do like the dark side of it, like the real, like Exegol, like getting into shadowy, like getting into very scary kind of, not like horrifying, but like, a darker side. Like that's so
Yeah.
easy to do CGI. Like darker planets are so much easier to do because you don't have the lights that are exposing it. So it's like,
true.
I think you could do a lot of that. I personally, my favorite Star Wars ones besides Kajimi are always the more green and jungle based ones. Like I love those. And you're much better at naming the planets, but like the ones where the Ewoks are, I love.
Endor, yeah, that's great.
Endor's great.
And that's easy too.
Love,
they just go to California redwoods.
Yes.
That's all they're filming it.
Right. And Rise of Skywalker, is that where they are? Are they on Endor when they're in that like Rebel base? Well, I guess it's not the Rebel base; it's the Resistance base.
No, they're on in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I forget where they are.
I love that planet.
They do show Endor in Rise of Skywalker. You see Wicket with his kid while they're like celebrating something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But the Death Star being in the water is like another moon of Endor. So I think it's like the moon next to it or something. So it's like it's in that same sort of vicinity. So I like that kind of stuff. But yeah, give me the prequels. We got so many cool planets that maybe don't hold up due to the technology at the time, but with the volume can really hold up a little bit better. And we've gotten some great stuff. Man, Book of Boba Fett, when we catch up with Mando and he's on that Outer Rim world where like it's like a thin strip of like, oh, that is so dope. Give me more stuff like that. And less of deserts.
Yeah. Wherever that like kind of, well, I don't know her name. The girl that rides the bike.
Oh yeah, Lothal. That's from Rebels. Yeah, it looks great in live action.
It's so like Capital looking, like it's so like Hunger Games-ish looking. It's very pristine, like a kind of a utopia, dystopia kind of thing. So I think they could do a lot like with that. Like you could take similar themes and stories, like a kind of like that, where there is a an elite and then a poor. Just don't take me back to where the what's the gambling city or the planet?
Canto Bight. You don't want to go back to Canto Bight?
No, I hate Canto Bight. I hate Canto Bight so much.
I got the book for you then. There's a book called Canto Bight. I'm going to send it to you.
Canto Bights.
Is that a shirt that you're going to have made now?
Canto Bights.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll about wrap us up here. Did you have fun? Did you have fun making your
it was a lot of fun
post-credit scenes?
Mostly because like I know it's probably cool to just tell us like post-credit, but I can visualize my post-credits. Like the most fun I had was the General Grievous one, and that was the most offshoot one I think I had. But I don't know, I think things like that. But then I love post-credit scenes. Like you could put them at every movie. If you're gonna have a sequel, put them in every movie. You need them. Really
I'm fine with like my problem with the current Marvel post-credit scenes is that
current Marvel sucks.
No, that what they've done is, so in the past they used to set up like the next film that was coming out because you'd have like a year in between them or 7 months, in between them. What they've currently started doing is more of like post-credit scenes with the characters of the movie that you just watched. And the thing is, we don't know when we're going to see them again. So
that's true.
We get like, I keep saying Shang-Chi, huge hit. Shang-Chi, his scene has, focusing on him and his sister taking over, or not his sister, right? Or his sister taking over the 10 rings or whatever.
Yep.
2 years on, we have no clue when we're getting Shang-Chi 2. We have no clue when we're seeing the continuation of that. That's my biggest problem with it. Like, if you go back to like Thor, The Dark World, not a great movie, but they take the ether, they take it to the Collector, and it sets up Guardians, which is in 8 months or whatever. So I wish they would kind of do more of those again, instead of just like setting up characters that, like, continuing the character setup, and we just don't know when we're getting a sequel because they give us like a list of movies that are coming out, and you're like, I don't see Shang-Chi 2 on here at all.
Yeah.
And they say they're working on it, but I'm like, so is it going to be after Secret Wars? Because if so, we're not going to see that for another like 7 years. Like,
Yep.
it's that type of thing where it can be more effective, I would say. And like the Spider-Man ones did it right when he gets his identity exposed, and you're like, okay, in 2 years, I know I'm getting Spider-Man, and
Mhm.
that's because Sony makes them do it in 2 years usually.
Right.
So then you're like, okay, I know the next story is a Spider-Man movie, and he's going to have his identity out, stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think Star Wars can do the same going
Yeah.
forward. Like, there is so much excitement in and around those post credit scenes. I don't know why people shy away from them, and I think because they're like, well, we don't really know where the story is going to go. But you really don't. All you have to do is really nod to something that's going to happen in the next one, even if it's a character, like introducing the new character. Like, I love when I think it's it's not. Is it Kit Harington's character? That's
Yes, in Eternals. Yeah.
Yes, because it's like, but again, like you said, Jordan, it does you no good.
We
And
have
I know
no
it's been
clue
brought
when
up,
he's
like,
showing up
you have
again.
no clue. Like the Eternals, like you have no idea. Them, you don't know. I think Ant-Man, like that's the other thing too, is the people that are leaving the Marvel universe, they don't set them up very well either. They're kind of like, oh, you're gonna figure out they're no longer around, kind of thing. So I think that's what Endgame and them did well, is that because they could do that. But now these new ones, like, I've not seen Guardians yet. I know I'm bad, but
Guardians sets it up well. You'll
That's
enjoy
Okay.
what Guardians does. Yes.
Okay. So, but again, I think Star
Explores
Wars,
the darker side too. There you go.
Star Wars needs to lean into it. I'm all for it. But let's get away from it. Let's get into like a very Games of Thrones kind of thing. Like, let's get a Star Wars show that's very similar to that. Kind of a battle of the
Political
throne kind of thing.
manipulation
Yeah, I
type
like
stuff.
that. Yeah, some betrayal, some
Yeah.
dark incest. No, I'm kidding.
Knights of the Old Republic, Game of Thrones style for Logan.
I'm telling you, that's where I thought that was going to go. That's why I was excited
Yeah.
about it. I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be very political driven. And, a lot of people don't like politically driven, but Game of Thrones, man, you got political with violence. That's what you need.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this was fun. I have something to plug, I guess. So this Thursday, November 2nd, Chris, Ron, and I are going to be doing a live watch along on our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, I guess, of Phantom Menace. So we'll be watching Phantom Menace. We can't obviously show it on our screen, but like we'll tell you when to start. We'll have a timer on where we're at in the movie if you guys want to jump in, if you want to watch Phantom Menace along with us. That'll also be put on the podcast feed later as a commentary track. So that way you could watch it whenever you want, in sync with it. I don't know if we'll have a lot of great stuff to add, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. We're not like a director doing a commentary, but we'll see how it goes. We're doing that on the 3rd. I don't know if we have a time yet, but keep an eye out. We're going to have like that blasted on our socials. Like I said, I was on the Rambling Star Wars Fan. We talked the Ewok films recently. So you can go find that episode with Ken Bishop over on Rambling Star Wars Fan. Just search that in your podcatcher. Yes, that's it. Oh, I'm talking Spider-Man 2, the video game, over on our Marvel podcast, To the Infinity Saga and Beyond, where we're going to talk about the game totally. So if you haven't finished it, if you haven't finished some of the side missions, you might not want to listen to it, but once you're done, the episode will be there for you to go back to. I'm also still covering Loki season 2 over there with Casey McGeorge. I'm about to actually hop on and record the episode 4 recap with him. Chris and I just did our, Jesus Christ, a DC podcast, Elseworlds, where we talked, we made our own Batman movie, Logan. So we took, let me explain that better. We built our own Batman movie is what I'm calling it. And it means we're taking like this bat suit, or we're taking this, this Bruce Wayne, and we're taking this Alfred, and we're taking this Batmobile, and we're taking this. And, that's what we want to see in a Batman movie, kind of creating our dream like Batman movie. Yeah. So that is happening over on DC, Elseworlds, a DC fan podcast. Is that it? Is that everything? We're talking soccer over on Stateside Soccer Show. If people are interested in that.
Yeah, there you go.
MLS playoffs.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into Harry Potter world yet, but maybe we can start that podcast.
Yeah, I
They
don't
just
have
need
I don't have
content.
enough as it is.
They just need content.
I think that's everything. Oh, I started a new. Yes, everybody's seen this on the feed. A new podcast called Films for the Very First Time. I put the episode of Rogue One where Casey McGeorge had never seen Rogue One before, so I picked that as a movie. I put that episode on our podcast feed, so that way, I thought that'd be interesting to people. Of what is somebody that maybe hasn't seen Rogue One yet? It's now 7 years later or whatever. First time watching it. What was his thoughts? We discussed the film. We rated it out of 5 stars. So we talk all that stuff. So, that's everything, I think, this time. You can catch us everywhere on @podawakens on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I don't think I have threads yet for this, but a TikTok @podawakens. Yeah, so have a great rest of your week, and we'll catch you next time when we break down this Phantom Menace live watch along.